question. You guys, you guys throw some words out to me right now. What are some attributes of God? What? Sovereign, merciful, loving, eternal, righteous, redemptive, caring, grace. Yes, I've not heard any of the omnis yet. Omnipotent. There you go. Omniscient. Omnipresent. There we go. Yes. That was pretty funny. That's good. Yes, he is omni everywhere. That's funny. So, he is all those things. You know, I watched a movie. It takes me, if I watch a movie by myself, it takes me like a week or 2 weeks to watch one movie because I do it like whenever I have just a little bit of free time. So like I'm night weaning Zoe, and so I'll be holding her, and I don't know what to do, and I'm about to fall asleep standing up, and so I'll like play a movie on my phone while I'm holding her, right? Because I can't sit down, but got to stand up. And so, so I'll be holding her, and there's this movie, there's this foreign movie, I posted about it if you saw it on Facebook, called Bahubali. Anybody seen that movie? Anybody? Okay, well, I bawled my eyes out watching the second one of that, Bahubali 1 and Bahubali 2. It's a foreign movie, so if you want to watch it in English, the lips will not match up with or you can choose to watch it where the lips do match up, which is what I prefer, and so I had to read the whole thing. But man, it was good. It was so good. And I like on the second one, I'm just like, I'm bawling my eyes out. And it's so impactful for me. And I really want to, I'm like, Crystal, you got to watch this. But a part of me is afraid because it's like, if Crystal watches it, she's probably going to think it's really lame, okay? Because I'll be honest, it's kind of cheesy in parts. Like the action scenes are very exaggerated. A lot, right? Like big time. Like more than 300, if you've seen 300. All right, so very exaggerated. So like, man, you know, if we watch this, she's probably going to think it's really lame, and there's going to be this disappointment because it was so impactful for me, right? And so I'm going to preach this sermon. This sermon is very impactful for me, okay? It's been very impactful for me to process this, and it'll be impactful for me as I continue to process it, and I hope that it doesn't fall short, and you guys are like, man, that was really lame, right? Okay, so I'm hoping that, you know, it doesn't just connect for the few of you in here that might be like me, but I'm hoping and I'm praying, Spirit, let it connect with everybody here and let it penetrate hearts. So, characteristics of God that we just listed, all of them are very accurate, very good. Good job. That was a good list. So let's look at this text here in Mark 14, and we'll just see the characteristic of Jesus in this text. So, Mark 14, we're going to start in verse 41. We're picking up right where we left off last week. If you were here last week, Jesus was in the garden with his boys, and he was praying off by himself, and he was telling his disciples, hey, can you continue to pray for me? And they kept falling asleep. So we're picking up right in the middle of that. He left 2 times and came back, and they were still asleep. So then, verse 41 says, then he came a 3rd time and said to them, are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. The time has come. See, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let's go. See, my betrayer is near. There was a time in my life, and I don't say this lightly, okay? I'm going to say this, and you're going to say, ha ha, I felt that way before. Really felt this. Okay, lightly, I'm not saying it as a joke. There was a time in my life whenever I was betrayed by somebody that I love very dearly, and I wanted to kill them. Like I actually wanted their life to end, and I wanted to be the one to end it. I was so angry. I was so betrayed. So mad. So hurt. I could not imagine Christ, Yeshua, in the flesh with the power to destroy the one who was about to betray him with a thought before he even got to the betrayal. Having that as an option and not doing it. It's crazy. It's insane. I mean, like, he knew, and I said last week, and this is just me talking, like, I don't know for sure, okay, this is just me. I don't know, okay? I don't know, but I don't think Yeshua knew that Judas was going to betray him whenever he chose Judas to be his disciple. Okay, I don't think that, okay? We can disagree about that and have a nice conversation. I've joked before we'll get to heaven and find out I was correct, but here we can talk about it, we can debate it, okay? But here's what we do know. We do know that whenever Jesus dipped the bread, he knew then that Judas would betray him. And we know that right now, before Judas actually gets to the act of betrayal, which was kind of an ongoing thing, but before the treacherous kiss, right, he knows this is about to happen. And he has the power to stop it, and he still lets it unfold. He just lets it unfold. But here's what's even more impressive, and you may have heard this before, and you may think, I don't really get that theological point. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. Here's the thing. Jesus is flesh. Yeshua is flesh. He has skin, and he has bone, and he has blood, and he sweats, and he has hair, and he has arm hair and armpit hair, and all that. Yeshua has all that, right? The second person of the Trinity did not always exist in that way. So you hear people talk about Jesus, like Jesus is shadowed in the Old Testament. Like there's shadows of Jesus. He's foreshadowed in the Old Testament. The Old Testament is pointing to Jesus, but Jesus is not in the Old Testament. We see the work of the second person of the Trinity in the Old Testament, but we don't see Jesus in the Old Testament because Jesus is flesh. And you're thinking, yeah, but that doesn't really need to, do you need to make that distinction? Is that really necessary? It seems like you're just being like trying to be too smart for your own good, which is possible. But I don't think so in this case. Because that means that at some point, the second person of the Trinity, who had all those characteristics that you guys just described, who was super powerful, super mighty, super strong, super sovereign, all the omnis, including omniscient, knowing that omniscient is all-knowing, knowing that he knew what was going to happen if he took on flesh, decided to, at that moment, still take on flesh. That's why the distinction's important, see? Because he decided in that moment, I'm going to enter into their world. Put on their flesh, wear their clothes, go to their bathrooms, deal with rude people at the market, stub my toe, get cut while I'm doing carpentry, hammer my own finger. Like, I'm going to experience all of that. That means that at some point, Yahweh said, I'm going to willingly step into that and experience all of that. Which is huge. In that moment, whatever that moment is that exists outside of time, so moment's not even the right word to describe it, but that's the best thing that we have. In that moment, he said, I'm going to go down there so that a man named Judas can betray me. And then he decided to be a babe, to not have wisdom and stature, because the Bible tells us that he grew in wisdom and stature. To experience our pain, to live as us. Huge. Big deal. Really big deal. And here he is, and he's in the garden, and he's with his closest friends, knowing that his moment of betrayal is coming, and asking them to just pray for him, and they're not doing it. They're falling asleep. And he says, okay, guys, just get up. Just get up. What's about to happen is going to wake you up. You're not going to be able to sleep all night now. So get up. My betrayer's coming. I do. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Let me fix that real quick. So verse 43, immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, the one a kiss is the man, seize him and lead him away under guard. And when he came, he went up to him and at once and said, Rabbi, and he kissed him. And they laid hands on him and seized him. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck off the servant of the high priest, servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. We're going to stop right there for a second. This is my man Peter right here. Judas comes onto the scene. Everybody, it's like, I'm trying to picture this in my head, like, what's happening here? Like, how does this look? You know what I mean? Like, are all these people that are coming with weaponry to arrest Jesus, are they hiding behind bushes or something? And like, Judas walks up and is like, hey, Rabbi. And like, all the guards are like, we're here. We know which one. And you're like, well, why would they need to kiss him when they know? And in a way, yes, but keep in mind it's dark. And, you know, Jesus might know that he's in danger. And so maybe he maybe he has like a double, like there. And so like Judas is going to go in and make for sure, get up close and make sure that it really is Yeshua. I don't know the reasoning behind the plan. We just know that this is a plan. All right, the plan is that Judas is going to walk up and kiss the one. Jesus expressed that he already knew that Judas was going to betray him. What was Judas thinking? You know what I mean? Like, he walks up and kisses him. And you might think that that's weird because it's a guy and a guy, but in the Bible times, like that was acceptable, right? And so it was a regular greeting, like shaking hands. They did not have COVID back then. So he walks up, he kisses his teacher after saying, Rabbi means teacher. So it would be like you walking up to Tim and saying, hey, Preacher Tim, shaking his hand, and then people coming to arrest Preacher Tim after you shook his hand, after showing a term of affection and endearment, not just with your actions, but with your words. Like, oh, the one who taught me, the one who's been here for me, the one whom I sit under. Let me give you a kiss so that these folks know who to arrest. And again, we can get into all kinds of arguments about Judas's motives, but that's not the point of this sermon. They come and they arrest Jesus. And Peter. Text doesn't say Peter. Mark doesn't tell us, but we know it's Peter. He takes his sword out, and I made the comment last week. It was either he just was so, like, he doesn't know how to use a sword, or it was one of the most skilled tricks, because, like, you go to cut somebody's, like, it says he just cut off his ear. And other gospel writers tell us that Yeshua actually healed Malchus's ear, right? So he actually healed it. So he, like, had to, like in the swords that they had, they weren't, like, really thin. Like, they were kind of thick. And so he, like, would have had to, like came in like this and then turned it sideways and then like, came in right here. Like, because if he came down, he would have got a shoulder. I don't know. I've thought about that, too. Like, how did he do that? It's crazy. Like, or maybe he, like, went like one of this, and, like, Malchus was like, ugh, and then, like, move his shoulder out of the way. I don't know. I don't know what that would have looked like. But he just loses his ear, okay? But we see Peter here pulling the sword out and responding with he's about to wage war. This is war. Peter's saying, this is it. I told him I would die for him, and I'm going to do it. It's 12 verses, however many, hundreds. We're going to take him down. This is it, and I will die for this man. And he pulls his sword out. He chops off a guy's ear. He's serious. He's ready to fight. Jesus stops it, calms everyone down, but look at Peter, and I can really relate to Peter. Because I got a story for you. I really like sugary things, like stuff that I'm not supposed to have, stuff that I'm not supposed to eat. Really like it a lot. Really good. And in school, I would go and I'd get, one of the cosmic brownies. You guys know those, right? A Nutty Buddy. There we go. Yeah. Jesus. Anybody got a response to that? I was just kidding. Nutty Buddy, but I also really liked, and I like these because the price for the amount, okay? Honey buns. Really like those Little Debbie packaged honey buns, you know what I'm talking about? It doesn't matter if it's frosted or not. I like it either way, okay? So I had this honey bun, and and I set it on my tray, and I'm sitting there at school, and I think I'm in 8th grade. I'm sitting down, and I'm eating my honey bun. I'm about to eat my honey bun, and a friend of mine, Joseph, reaches for it. And in the flash of an eye, he's come on this side of me, I grabbed his hand, twisted it back, pushed it against his chest like this, tipped him over in his chair on the ground. And I'm leaning over like this, and he's on the ground looking like, and I just said, don't ever touch my honey bun. Right? True story. And guess what? He didn't mess with me and my food ever again, right? He could have taken anything else but that honey bun. That's not true. He couldn't take anything else. I don't share food with my own kids. The other day, Zoe pulls out ice cream, little pint of ice cream, which is sacred to me because I can't have dairy, right? And so like this little pint of ice cream, and she pulls it out, and I'm like, oh. And she's like, I was like, no. Like, I'm sorry. And I said, Daddy doesn't share his food. And I tell my kids that. Like, Daddy doesn't share food. That's mine, and I'm not sharing it. And they accept it, okay? So she goes, and she puts it back, and she pulls out Crystal's flavor. and guess what? Crystal gave it to her. And that's why, but I stand my ground. Don't mess with my food, all right? So here's Peter, and they're coming after his friend, his rabbi, his Messiah, and he's ready to fight. And here's the thing, we can look at this and we can say, well, this was kind of a reaction on Peter's part. I don't think it was a reaction. Reaction kind of gives the impression that it was like a spur of the moment, split decision, right? And I think Peter had been meditating about this. Like, Peter had been sitting with this. Like, if anybody comes after my man Jesus, I'm going to take him down, right? I mean, he said as much. He said, no, you can't tell me I'm going to deny you because you don't understand. I've been sensing that this is going to be going down for a while, and I'm ready to fight to the death. Don't tell me I'm going to turn my back on you. I mean, he said it, right? And you could look at my response to Joseph where I flipped him out in his chair. Like, you could look at that and say, oh, that was a reaction. But here's the thing is that I lived in intensity in my heart, in my chest. Like, I could feel it all the time. I lived that. I was either chill or going to kill you. Like, that's why I love football, because I could get away with living in the I'm going to kill you part. Right? Loved it. But that's how I lived. So it wasn't like this, oh, it did. No, it made sense. Like, I was sitting in that. I was with that. I was with the hurt and the pain, and I was with the trauma, and I was ready to fight. But so many of us also go through life that way, ready to fight. Whenever we have a moment where we're scared, we fight. We run. We freeze up. We lie and try to connive our way out of it. All kinds of different things that we come up with to avoid the hurt, to avoid the pain. And here's Peter doing the same thing. I'm going to avoid the pain of you taking the man that I love by fighting you, taking your life, and if you take mine, so be it. But it wasn't a healthy place. You see that? You get that? Does everybody see that? Everybody see that in your life? You face hardship, you face something where it's going to tear you down, it's going to make you so sad. I see it in my life. I run, I fight, I freeze up, I try to weasel my way out of it. Anything so that I don't have to feel that pain. Anything so I don't have to deal with that. Let's look at how Jesus responds. Jesus said to them, this is verse 48, have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I was with you in the temples teaching, and you did not seize me, but let the scriptures be fulfilled. And they all left him and fled. And a young man followed him with nothing but a linen cloth about his body, and they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. Which, wouldn't you hate to be put in the Bible for that? That would be like, maybe some of us would be like, well, I mean, if you're going to strip me naked, I guess I'll stay. Like, but no, not him. He's like, let me get out of this clothes right now, and just ran away naked. By the way, they didn't have underwear back then, so naked, like that meant naked. Yeshua responds here in an interesting way because he's no punk. Like, he's not a punk. Like, he's not going to be like, he's not just going to let it, he's not just going to be a doormat. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to say, hey, hold on a second. Like, you're going about this in a way, trying to be all sneaky. He calls him out, basically. You're trying to be all sneaky. You're trying to be all conniving. I've been with you. I recognize you because I've seen you before. And I recognize you because I've seen you before. And you, I remember telling you this. And I've seen you. You were there whenever I said this at the temple. Like you're gonna come to me in darkness? Why not all the times that I did something wrong? Why not all the times? Where were you? What's going on? Like, he calls him out. But then, he doesn't fight. He doesn't freeze up. He doesn't run away. He doesn't lie, weasel his way out of anything. He just lets it happen. And the disciples, every single one of them, in the Last Supper, Yeshua calls two of his disciples out for betraying him, Judas and Peter. Judas, you're going to betray me. Peter, you're going to deny me, which is an act of betrayal. He called those two out, but every single one of them fled. Whenever the expectation, my expectation would be, Yeshua's about to go crazy on him. And in fact, another gospel tells us, John, he tells us that whenever they came and they said, hey, we're looking for Yeshua, and he said, I am he. Like the word in the Greek is ego eimi, which is I am, which is like a weird way of saying it. So the Greek writers put that in there, ego eimi, because it's saying that whenever Yeshua said that, he was saying Yahweh. He was saying, I am Yahweh, like I'm. So, and whenever he said that they all fell backwards. Would that not have been a good time to run away? Yahweh, and then split. But he didn't. He said it. They all fell down with their weapons, with their spears, with their shields, and then they all got back up, and then they came at him again, and he's standing in the same spot. So the disciples probably thought, this is where it's happening. He's about to fight back, and there's going to be this really cool story. We're going to be like in the history books, y'all, for a bunch of fishermen with some swords are going to take on an army, and we're going to win because we got the Messiah on our side, and it's going to be awesome. And whenever Jesus just says, what are you guys doing trying to be all sneaky? I've been seeing you guys. Go ahead and just do what you're going to do. Whenever that's his response, they split. Run. So what are they doing? Same thing. Here's pain. Here's turmoil. Here's hurt. Peter fought and then ran, and all the other disciples, they just went with running the first time. They just ran to avoid the pain. Here's the thing. All the characteristics that we gave of Yeshua, they were good. Oh, they were spot on. All of them are accurate. That is who Yahweh is. But there's one characteristic that Yahweh has that is exemplified here just absolutely beautifully that a lot of times we overlook, and I even think a lot of us might be even uncomfortable to say it. Yahweh is vulnerable. Like right here, right now, in this text, He's vulnerable. He chose to be vulnerable, but he's vulnerable. Whenever you have a conversation with somebody and you're like, hey, yeah, let me be vulnerable with you for a second. Why do we do that? Why do we be vulnerable with somebody for a second? So that they'll know us, right? Like, hey, this is kind of scary. You might put me on blast for this. But more than my fear of that happening, I want you to know me. So I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be uncomfortable for both of us. That's when we say, let me be vulnerable, that's what we're saying. I want you to know me. Now, Yeshua was without sin, all right? So whenever we say, let me be vulnerable, a lot of times what we mean is, I did something wrong, I'm going to be vulnerable with you for a second, and I'm going to tell you something. But Yeshua didn't do anything wrong, so his vulnerability didn't look like that. It doesn't look like that, but his vulnerability looks like, let me just be me in your presence, regardless of what you do with it. That's, at its essence, at its core, that's vulnerability. A lot of times we say, here's another thing, how we view vulnerability that's just wrong, and I would really love it if we would just stop doing this because it's really not good. We say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable, and we like tell somebody something about us, and we like, I'm going to be real with you for a second. We use phrases like that, and we tell somebody, but whenever we tell somebody that, most of the time, I'll speak for myself, okay, I won't necessarily put this on you, but I'm kind of putting on you because I think that we do it a lot, especially in our culture. Whenever we are real, whenever we are vulnerable, it's not really vulnerability. It's actually kind of a really twisted form of manipulation because I'm going to tell you something about me and look really weak so that you respond and do something with it. You either give me kudos and say, wow, I can't believe you were that vulnerable, and then I get a little bit of a high from it because it's like, yeah, I was just an open book, or I tell you that so that you will be moved to then act in some way that is favorable for me, or so that maybe you'll cry and I can feel like, oh wow, somebody does love me. I'm doing it so often. We say things in vulnerable, like we mask it as vulnerability so that we can manipulate the person that we're telling to respond in a way that we want them to respond. Am I wrong? Right, okay, good. All right, I want to make sure, because again, this is where this moment like Bahu Bali, it's like, are y'all crying too? Because like I'm looking at this, like this is me. This is me. And then we look at Yeshua here. He was vulnerable. We take that same thing, let me backtrack for a second. We take that same thing and we actually project that onto Yeshua. And whenever we go and we tell people about him, we're like, well, Jesus died for your sins, so you better do something about it. We actually like use shame and fear as tools to manipulate people to believing in Christ, and we use his vulnerability to do it. Do you see that? Oh, you better believe in Jesus because if you don't, shame on you. We take that, we put that onto him, and we live in it ourselves. And what's ironic is ain't nobody really actually being vulnerable. And we're all showing our hind end. Just like the one who ran away. That got Crystal. Vulnerability is saying, I'm going to just be me, regardless of what you do with it. Yeshua wasn't vulnerable so that he could shame us into responding to him. Yeshua was vulnerable for one reason, guys. For one, he wanted you to know him. He wanted you to know him. He wanted me. That's why he was vulnerable. That's why he took on flesh. He came so that you may know, so that I may know the God of the universe. That's why he did it. And here's the thing. All the things that we do to mask the pain, all the running away and the fighting and and the lying and the freezing, all the things, all the coping mechanisms that we go to, all the Netflix that we watch so that we don't actually process what we're feeling, all the alcohol that we drink so that we don't have to actually deal with it, all the drugs that we do, everything that our culture goes to, all the sex that is being had, everything that we go to numb the pain is also numbing the love and the joy and the hope and the peace. We can't numb the bad without also numbing the good. And so here's Yeshua, and he's in this, and he says, if I numb this right now, if I end this right now, which he had the power to do, if he said, if I bring the army of angels down to end this, it will also end any opportunity of love that I have for them. It will end any opportunity that they have to know me. So it is necessary for this to happen. Just take me. He did it for you. He did it for me. He did it for the glory of Yahweh, so that we all might know him, so that we all might know that he loves us. That's why. Point blank, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's why. But here we are. We live here. We're here now. This is our earth. This is our planet. We're here in America and Arnold and Ferguson, and we've got a pandemic, and we've got crazy political climate. We got all this stuff. So what are we supposed to do with it now? Well, we are supposed to also walk in vulnerability and live in vulnerability. You're like, well, how can I do that? I don't quite get that. I don't understand that. Because you're telling me to just be me without expecting people to respond in a certain way in return. Because if you really just take an audit of your life and really just sit down and look and be honest with yourself, you'll see so many instances. I'm pretty sure of it. And again, I'm trying not to put stuff on you. I'm telling you, I've experienced it with me. So many moments where we live our lives just trying to most of what we do is trying to invoke a response of those around us to love us so that we can feel love and affection from them in a way that we want to feel love and affection. But all that we do, it's really actually blocking the love and affection. If we would just let Yeshua meet all of those needs as he's there willing to meet, and that would free us up to then just be vulnerable with people, there would be connection like you wouldn't. We have no idea what's possible. You know what? I'm going to tell you this, and it's kind of scary. I'm not actually going to tell you something right now. I'm saying if we would just be like this. I'm going to tell you this, and it's kind of scary, and I'm kind of concerned that you're going to respond in a way that's going to hurt me, but I'm going to tell you anyway, and regardless of what you do, I'm still going to say it because all the fear that I have, Yeshua's taking care of that. So I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to be vulnerable with you. I'm just going to be me in your presence regardless of what you do with it. That's scary. But Yeshua did it. And you're like, yeah, and look what happened to him. Yeah, look what happened to him. The hurt, the pain, it was there. The hurt, the pain. If we actually live this way, it will hurt. Like if we actually live this way, it will be painful. I'm not here telling you, oh, if you're vulnerable that way, people will really see your authenticity and they'll really respect it and it'll be really great. I'm not telling you that bull crap. That's garbage. If you live this way, it will hurt. If you live this way, it will be painful. But if you live this way, you will have authentic, genuine connection, not only with those that are around you, that do choose to be around you, but you will have genuine and authentic connection with Yeshua because we're actually leaning and relying fully upon him to meet our needs and not those around us. Imagine in your relationships right now, if all the tension that you feel, because again, you don't got to tell me, you don't got to nod your head. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that this is true because I just see it. All the tension that you feel of trying to live up to the person that you love, like they have this and they like, oh, I got to do this so that they love me. I got to do this so that they feel this way about me. Could you imagine what life would be like if that wasn't there? If you could just be yourself, the ugly parts, the beautiful parts, all of it, be awesome. That's what the gospel is inviting us into. And that's what, as I just look at myself and as I look at the culture, that's what I see us really, really avoiding. Just an invitation to stop doing it. By the power of the Spirit, to stop doing it. Spirit, help us be vulnerable. Be our true, real selves. Regardless of what anyone else might think or how anyone else might respond, because the creator of the world loves us. We're going to spend some time in silence and just think about that. Maybe you can do that audit. 5 minutes won't be enough, probably. But you can begin the process, just audit and think, okay, where in my life am I living in such a way where I'm trying to get other people to respond in a way that I find to be affectionate. And look at that. Where in my life am I responding with fighting, or where in my life am I responding with fleeing, or with freezing up, or with trying to lie and connive where am I responding that way? And Spirit, will you give me the strength in both of those spaces to just be who I am? And can I feel free to do that because Christ died for who I am, and Christ rose for who I am, and Christ has redeemed who I am. So may I stand confidently in who I am. Spirit, we thank you for your goodness. Yeshua, we thank you for, oh my goodness, for your vulnerability, for choosing to take on flesh and walk in our shoes, and to love us to the point of us betraying you, to not stop the betrayal, to not numb the pain so that you could experience the fullness of the love, and so that we could experience the fullness of the love with you. Thank you. Thank you for enduring that. Thank you for your passion. May all of us, Spirit, by your strength, we're going to need your help to do this, but may everybody in this room and everybody who's listening online now or in the future, may we all really submit to you. May we all find our identity in you, and may we all live so confidently in you to the point that we can actually genuinely really be vulnerable with those around us, to be ourselves and not expect anything in return. Because you've already given us everything. Everything. What else do we need? What do we lack? It's nothing. May we live in that Spirit. We need your help. Bring us to that point. Thank you, Yahweh, for your love and pursuit of us. It's in Yeshua's name we pray.